Before we start, just a quick reminder to hit that subscribe button. Only 2% are subscribed at 1,000 subscribers. I'll be posting a special video. Do the voice again, you nailed it. The kid in the hoodie held his phone up to my wife. The waiter still stood beside our table, card in his hand. My name is Jake, 35, and I watched her perform. She twisted her mouth and copied his accent like it was a party trick. The kid howled and slapped the table with his palm. Two more teens leaned in with their screens already recording. The waiter's smile dropped so fast it almost looked fake. He glanced at me, just one sharp look, then at the door. I tried to laugh it off and my voice came out thin. You sound exactly like him, that's wild. She tossed her hair and did the voice again, louder. The kids shouted something about posting it before anyone else. The waiter stepped back with the card pressed tight to his fingers. I felt the air around our table go stiff, if that makes sense. An older woman at the next table pushed back her chair hard. Her partner muttered something and tossed cash on their plate. They walked out without waiting for the check, eyes straight ahead. My wife watched them go and smirked like she just won. She winked at the kids and said they could tag her account. I told myself I was overreacting, that it was just one bad bit. You ever do that, talk yourself out of your own discomfort? I forced a bigger smile and asked the kids if they needed water. They barely looked at me, too busy checking the recording. My hands felt clumsy when I picked up my glass to drink. The waiter came back with the card machine and a tight jaw. He asked if everything was okay, voice shorter than before. My wife chirped that everything was perfect and asked his name again. She repeated it in that fake version like it was a punchline. He stared at the table and the tip line before answering. Hey, we're just playing, relax. She laughed and gave his shoulder a little tap. He shifted away fast, like her fingers burned straight through him. He looked at me again and there was nothing polite left. I wrote a heavy tip, almost angry at my own handwriting. On the way out, she stopped by the kids' table uninvited. Send me that clip. I looked crazy in the best way. She leaned over them, tapping her username into their phones. They told her she was savage and fearless and not like other moms. My stomach clenched at that last line, harder than I expected. I'm not proud of this part. I still walked beside her in silence. Outside, she looped her arm through mine like date night was perfect. Did you see their faces when I did it again? Her eyes were bright and sharp, almost feverish with attention. I mumbled that the waiter looked pissed and she waved it off. He'll live, people are so touchy now. She unlocked the car and slid in, still smiling to herself. Once I started the engine, she was already on her phone. Her screen lit up her face as she replayed the recording. I could hear her fake accent again through the tiny speaker. In the video, the kids laughed so loud they almost covered his voice. You could still see the waiter's expression though, that quick flinch. She paused the frame right on his face and zoomed in. Look at him, acting like I attacked him. I saw my own blurred shape in the background doing nothing. I'm posting this, it's too good. She opened her social app and started trimming the clip. Cut out the part where she tapped his shoulder, left the rest. She added a caption about speaking your truth during date night. I wanted to tell her to stop and I just gripped the wheel. Babe, maybe don't put his face in there. The words finally came out quieter than they sounded in my head. She glanced over, thumb still moving across the screen. He works in public, it's not like he's undercover. My chest tightened because I knew that was not the point. She hit upload and sat back with a satisfied little exhale. Traffic crawled ahead of us, brake lights stretching down the block. A notification pinged almost instantly, then another, then a stream. Her smile widened with every buzz, like getting fed in real time. I watched the light turn green and almost missed my chance to move. Comments started pouring in and she read them out loud like a script. Finally, someone with a spine, see, these kids get it. She laughed when one called her the main character of the night. When a stranger typed that the waiter looked uncomfortable, she snorted. People love to pretend offense now, nobody can handle humor. I asked if she thought mocking his voice actually counted as humor. The question hung there, heavier than I meant it to. She turned the volume down and stared at me like I'd betrayed her. You're acting like I dropped a slur in the middle of dessert. The way she said it made my skin crawl, like the line was negotiable. She launched into this new speech I had never heard before. About how language has energy and some cultures are too sensitive. About how real peace comes from saying what everyone secker. Atlee thinks. About how the younger generation is tired of walking on eggshells. Each sentence mixed fake wisdom with something uglier underneath. If you've ever watched someone slide into a role they enjoy too much. That was her in that passenger seat, building a new personality live. She talked about vibrations and fearless authenticity and not apologizing. She said the kids in there made her feel alive again. I stared at the road and wondered when regular life had stopped being enough. At a red light, she opened the camera again and flipped it toward herself. Okay, story time, I just had the craziest restaurant experience. Her voice jumped an octave, bright, animated, almost girlish. She described the scene, but she rewrote it piece by piece. When she got to the accent part, she called it a playful mirror. She aimed the phone slightly so my profile showed in the frame. This is my husband, he thinks I went too far tonight. She laughed and nudged my arm for the camera like we were bantering. The chat icon popped up with live reactions flying across the screen. I forced a crooked smile that looked nothing like how I felt. She asked her followers if people were getting too fragile these days. Hearts and laughing emojis flooded the corner before she finished the sentence. Someone wrote that he probably was not even from that country. Another said workers should toughen up if they meet the public. I swallowed hard and felt something old inside me shift. We pulled into our driveway and she barely looked up from the screen. She ended the recording with a little peace sign and a wink. Stay real, stay high vibe, don't let crybabies police your truth. Those words came out of the same mouth that once whispered bedtime stories. That contrast hit me harder than the whole scene in the restaurant. Inside, she tossed her bag on the counter and refreshed the app again. Look at this, it's already getting traction. She spun the screen toward me like it was good news. The clip showed her laughing, the kids howling, the waiter freezing. Underneath, the like count climbed while a few comments called her brave. Mixed in were quieter replies that called the video mean and gross. She rolled her eyes and blocked one of them with 2 quick taps. Bots are people who live to be offended. She said it so casually, like she knew their entire lives already. That was the moment I understood she liked the backlash too. I told her again that the guy looked humiliated, that I would be. She shrugged and asked why I cared more about a stranger than her. The question landed like an accusation I didn't know how to answer. I said I cared about both, and that got a sharp laugh. You just want me to sit down, smile, and age quietly. She walked off toward the bedroom, still talking to her phone. Her voice faded down the hall, riffing about fake kindness and real honesty. I stayed by the counter with the image of that flinch in my head. In that moment, I still thought this was one bad night. Now writing this, I know it was the opening scene. She almost knocked me over with smoke and chanting. I stepped into the living room and hit the ring light. The phone on top was recording her from a low angle. She raised a smoking bowl toward the camera and hissed at me. Do not interrupt, I am cleansing your heavy blood right now. I froze with my keys still in my hand. She closed her eyes and muttered something about old pain leaving. Ash drifted onto the rug while the chat hearts exploded on screen. My throat scratched from the smell and I thought about opening a window. I did not move because I already knew that would start a fight. She finished the last phrase and blew hard toward the lens. Feel that your nervous system just reset. Her voice dropped into this weird slow rhythm she never used before. She held the bowl under her chin and smiled right at her followers. I stood off to the side like the extra in someone else's documentary. Okay, ceremony done, now let me show you what I bought. She set the bowl down and grabbed a velvet pouch from the table. She tipped out stones and lined them in a neat row. This one dissolves fear, this one keeps parasites away. She glanced at me on that last word and did not mean worms. Chat messages rolled up faster than I could read. They called her priestess and queen and big sister of the soul. Someone asked if their neighbor from another country could curse property values. She laughed into the phone and said some people drag entire blocks down. It sounded like a joke and also not a joke at all. When she finally hit stop, the room dropped into regular silence. She coughed once and waved the smoke like it annoyed her now. Wow, that was powerful, I am buzzing. She looked at me for the first time since I walked in. You did not have to stomp through the middle like that. I held up my keys like proof I had just arrived. You turned the house in. Oh, Asauna, I thought something burned. She rolled her eyes and tightened the pouch drawstring. Everything here is intentional, you have no idea how dense you feel. That last line landed heavier than she probably realized, or maybe not. I asked what the bowl was supposed to do exactly. She launched into this tight little lecture about ancestral sludge. About how trauma hides in the bloodstream and attracts low people. About how certain groups carry more spiritual gunk from bad habits. None of that sounded like any wellness thing I had heard before. Look, if you keep hanging around low minds, they stick to us. She tapped my chest once right over my shirt. Work, neighborhood, random crowds, they all cling to your field. I made a weak joke about needing a regular shower instead. Her face hardened so fast I felt stupid for even trying. Why do you mock everything that actually helps me breathe? She folded her arms and watched me like I was a stranger. I started to say I supported her, then stopped halfway. Because that was not true anymore, not like she wanted it. She caught that pause and her mouth twitched with a tiny victory. Exactly, you would rather stay numb and pretend nothing is wrong. She scooped the stones back into the pouch with quick movements. Thankfully, the younger crowd actually gets this, at least they listen. I heard the way she hit that word younger like a prize. A stupid part of me felt replaced by people I had never met. She headed to the kitchen and talked while scrolling her phone. You know that girl I follow, the one with the manifestation channel. She did not wait for an answer before continuing at full speed. She invited me to go live with her tonight, can you believe? Her grin looked like she just got accepted into a secret club. I asked what going live with a teenager even meant for her. She is not a kid, she is wise beyond her years. She grabbed a glass from the counter and filled it halfway. She said I remind her of her future self if I stay consistent. Hearing that word consistent in this context twisted something in my stomach. She changed clothes before the live like it was an audition. Loose top, layered necklaces, messy hair that probably took effort. She stood in front of the mirror and tried different angles. Be honest, do I look like someone who ruins the vibe? I told her she looked fine because there was no safe answer. She dragged the lamp into the bedroom for better lighting. The phone leaned against a stack of books on the dresser. Okay, I am going in, do not talk too loud. Her finger hovered over the join button while her jaw clenched. I realized she was actually nervous, which made me more uneasy. The influencer's face filled half the screen, smooth and filtered hard. Yes, she is here, the truth teller from that restaurant clip. My wife lit up like someone turned a switch behind her eyes. They squealed at each other for a few seconds, full high energy. Then the girl read a comment out loud about my wife being iconic. They started trading lines about standing up to oversensitive people. About workers with attitudes and customers who refuse to shrink down. Then a viewer brought up immigrants in small towns and crime statistics. Another typed a message about certain groups always playing victim. The whole chat tilted in that direction so fast it made me dizzy. My wife laughed in a new sharp way I had not heard. Exactly, some energies just drain the whole street, you can feel it. The influencer clapped and shouted that she felt the same thing. Someone asked in the chat if they avoid certain grocery aisles now. My wife nodded and said she reads faces and can spot bad stock. I stepped closer and asked her to keep it light, not hateful. My voice came out louder than I intended in the small room. She glanced off screen and gave me a tight, fake smile. A lot of people cannot handle real talk, especially partners. The influencer laughed and called me a normie in front of everyone. I backed up and watched the comments hammer through in a blur. Blunt jokes, dog whistles, terms I recognized from ugly corners of the internet. My chest thumped while I listened to my own spouse feed that fire. Some families should just stay in their own zones, honestly. She framed it as spiritual boundaries, not segregation, which somehow felt worse. When the live finally ended, she flopped onto the bed grinning. My following jumped, did you see the numbers when we spoke truth? She shoved the phone at me with the statistics page open. I stared at the spike and felt absolutely nothing good about it. It looked like a health chart for a disease getting stronger overnight. You are freaking out, I can tell, your forehead does that thing. She poked the space between my eyebrows and laughed to herself. Relax, nobody is getting hurt, we are just having conversations. I reminded her the waiter had looked cruel. She had that this felt connected. She brushed that off like old news, already replaced by this high. You act like I am joining some cult, this is self-respect. She sat up and reached for the stone pouch again. These crystals amplify truth, they do not create anything that is not there. She pressed one into my palm and closed my fingers around it. You could actually grow if you stopped defending everyone who drags you down. The stone dug into my skin while we sat facing each other. For a second, I thought about agreeing just to keep the peace. Then I pictured that chat feeding on every loaded phrase she used. I set the stone on the nightstand and my heart kicked harder. Her eyes tracked the movement like I had thrown it at her. So you choose them over your own evolution, nice. Her tone went flat, colder than any argument we had before. This is why you are stuck, you cling to outdated guilt. I tried to tell her I just did not want hate dressed as wellness. She sighed like I bored her, which somehow cut deepest of all. The night did not wind down, it shifted gears. She moved through the house rearranging things without asking. She cleared space on shelves for her new stones and cards. She pushed a framed photo of us behind a stack of notebooks. I watched from the doorway and wondered when exactly I lost ground. Later, she filmed a short clip in the kitchen by herself. Quick reminder, protect your energy from low-frequency visitors and neighbors. She recorded 3 takes before picking one that sounded playful enough. In one version, she almost said a specific group out loud, then stopped. I heard that hesitation and knew where her head already lived. She scheduled the post for the next morning and crawled into bed. Her back faced me while the phone screen still glowed in her hand. Tomorrow, I am doing a longer class on racial frequencies and lineage. The phrase racial frequencies hit me so hard I forgot to breathe. She yawned and told me to keep an open mind for once. I lay there in the dark counting each new line she had crossed. From mocking one accent in a busy room to planning lessons on blood. Part of me still hoped this phase would burn out by itself. Another part already knew that trends never die, they just rebrand. I did not sleep much, and that class did not stay online for long. Move those chairs, I can feel a clash already. She pointed at the patio set like it offended her. You cannot put them on that side with us over here. I asked who she meant, even though I already knew. She just tapped her wrist where her crystal bracelet usually sat. She had arranged seats in little clusters with weird precision. High awareness in this corner, people still asleep over there. Her eyes lingered on the spot I usually used for grilling. Do not blend them, mixed fields make my head pound. I dragged the chairs anyway because I still wanted the grill. I told myself she was just hyped from her online crowd. That maybe once everyone arrived, she would forget the sorting game. Deep down I knew better, I just did not want that truth. You ever hear your own brain bargaining like a bad lawyer? That was me, arguing with myself while stacking plastic cups. The doorbell rang before I could finish talking myself down. Our friend stood there with a dessert tray and their daughter. He gave me the same hug he always gave, solid. His wife smiled and lifted the tray in a small joke. Their girl held a guitar case and asked where to set up. My wife appeared behind me with her loudest party voice. There she is, my starseed musician, come spin some magic. She kissed the air near their cheeks instead of touching them. Her eyes ran over the kid's face like she was scanning something. It was friendly on the surface, but her shoulders stayed stiff. We walked them out back where the grill was already going. Our neighbors had arrived earlier and hovered near the fence. Everyone started trading the usual updates about work and kids. For a few minutes, it felt like any regular weekend gathering. I let my guard drop a notch, which was a mistake. The girl tuned her guitar and played a few bright chords. My wife filmed a quick clip from the side without warning. Look at this talent, this is what happens with clear lineage. She posted it to her story before the song even ended. I pretended not to hear that last part, but I did. When we sat down to eat, she made sure of the layout. She put the neighbors on her right and us across from her. Our friends ended up between me and the sliding door. See, balanced, she murmured as she positioned a bowl in the center. I caught our friend's wife watching her with a small, puzzled look. Conversation started harmless enough, at least at first glance. She asked about their jobs, their daughter's new music teacher. Then her questions slid sideways in that practiced innocent tone. So do people from your background usually push their kids this hard? He blinked once, smiled, and said they just wanted her happy. Of course, obviously, I just notice patterns, it is my thing. She laughed and tapped the table like a talk show host. There is so much strong drive in families from certain regions. She used the word regions like she was charting a lab study. I saw his jaw tighten just a little before he answered. Our neighbor tried to shift the subject towards summer trips. He asked if anyone planned to get away for a week. My wife cut in before anyone could respond with a location. We have been invited to special retreats, very selective, very clean. She glanced at our friends when she said clean, then looked away. His wife asked what selective meant, voice light but eyes alert. My wife smiled like a salesperson who loves this exact question. Just families who respect their own roots and do not cross wires. She let that hang there while she adjusted her necklace. The girls stopped eating and looked back and forth between them. I kicked her ankle under the table, not hard, just sharp. Her smile flickered, then locked back into place for the group. You know what I mean, some lineages mesh, others really do not. Our friend set down his fork with a careful, steady movement. I am pretty sure humanity already tried that logic and failed. The air changed after that, even the neighbors grew quiet. Nobody reached for more food, even though plenty remained untouched. I felt my pulse in my throat and forced out a joke. Who wants to hear a song? The main act is right here. The girl caught the lifeline and reached for her guitar again. She played a cover that she loved and usually crushed. Her parents relaxed a little while she sang the chorus. Our neighbors clapped and whistled when she hit the final note. My wife clapped too, but it sounded oddly measured to me. Beautiful, your voice carries so many different histories at once. The compliment had teeth hidden behind the melody of her tone. The girl smiled by reflex, then frowned a second later. Her mom ran a hand down her back like a shield. I felt my own shoulders creeping toward my ears, waiting. My wife leaned in closer like she wanted to examine her. Do you ever feel pulled in two directions inside your body? She asked it like she was in a counseling session on camera. The girl froze with her hand still on the guitar neck. Her father's chair scraped back an inch across the concrete. What exactly are you asking her right now? Oh, relax, I work with mixed kids all the time online. She waved her hand like she was brushing away a mosquito. There is often a tug of war in the blood, very common. The word blood came out slow, like she wanted it to echo. My stomach lurched because everyone heard it that way. His wife set her napkin down in a small, precise fold. Our daughter is not a case study, she is a teenager eating dinner. Her voice shook slightly, which somehow made it more controlled. My wife tilted her head, eyes wide like she was misunderstood. I am just naming dynamics that most people ignore, that is all. I jumped in before she could say anything else with that tone. Why do we not talk about literally anything else for a bit? I offered to grab dessert, extra drinks, anything to reset this. Our neighbor stood up and said he would help in the kitchen. It was the kind of move you make to break a spell. In the kitchen, he leaned on the counter and blew out air. Man, is she doing a bit because I am not laughing. I stared at the plates, then at my reflection in the microwave. I wanted to say she would cool off, that this would pass. All I managed was, I know I'm trying to handle it. When we went back outside, the mood had sunk another level. The girl had put her guitar away by then, zip halfway closed. My wife was talking about vibrational mismatches between cultures and neighborhoods. She drew circles in the air with her finger, mapping groups. Our friend sat very still, like movement would trigger something worse. So do you think crime goes up when your people move in? She dropped it in casually, like weather talk, only not. The neighbors both jerked their heads up at the same time. My friend looked at her for a long, slow count of 3. Which people are you labeling as mine here? You know, your community, yours and hers, the whole blend. She gestured toward his wife and then toward the girl. You are rare, the mix is unusual, it changes the field. My throat dried out, I could not swallow, I could not speak. He laughed once, short and humorless, then pushed back his chair. We should get going, early morning tomorrow, long drive, all that. He stood before anyone could argue, which was the point. His wife gathered their plates with clipped, efficient movements. The girl grabbed her guitar and tray without looking at my wife. Her shoulders curled inward like she was trying to take up less. Space. My wife reached for her phone as they moved toward the door. I at least need a picture, we barely documented this hang. I stepped between her and the path without making it obvious. Let them go, it is late, we can talk later. She narrowed her eyes at me, then smiled at them again. Of course, no pressure, we will debrief in another lifetime. The line sounded playful, but the undercurrent was pure ice. They gave quick thanks for the food and headed inside. In the hallway, he paused long enough to grip my arm. We will call you this week, we need to talk privately. My chest burned as I watched their car pull away from the curb. The house felt bigger and emptier at the same time. Our neighbors slipped out soon after with weak excuses. The back gate clicked shut behind them with an oddly final sound. I was left in the yard with my wife and the cooling grill. Well, that was revealing, she said, reaching for her untouched drink. Fragile, very fragile, I expected more maturity from them, honestly. She opened her phone and started scrolling through her photos. It is fine though, their reactions will make a great teaching moment. The word teaching made my hands tighten into fists before I noticed. She found a short video from earlier, right after the song. In it, you could see the girl's face when blood got mentioned. There was that tiny flinch, the one no one was supposed to record. My wife trimmed the clip so only her questions and their faces remained. She cut my attempts to redirect like I barely existed there. I will blur the kid a little, I am not a monster. She dragged her thumb over the screen like that proved something. Then she added a caption about when mixed families fear honesty. I heard myself say, do not post that, more forcefully than usual. She stopped moving for half a second, then hit upload anyway. You really just did that after watching them walk out. My voice cracked, and that embarrassed me almost more than anything. She turned the volume up as comments began to land. Look at this, people are begging someone to say what I am saying. Her face lit up with every new heart that popped on screen. Some viewers cheered her for calling out dilution in communities. Others used words I will not repeat here, you know the type. There were a few angry replies telling her to take it down. She blocked them in between bites of leftover food. The light from the screen reflected in her eyes like another person lived there. I told her this was racism dressed up in spiritual language. The word hung there heavier than anything else I had tried. She laughed through her nose and shook her head slowly. People like you jump to that label when truth makes them sweat. I realized she was not just repeating something she heard, she believed it. We are done hosting couples who refuse to look at patterns. She tossed a napkin onto the table with a quick flick. If they choose weakness, that is their path, not ours. I thought about the arm on my shoulder at our wedding. Now all I could see was an empty chair and a blowing curtain. She yanked our son's phone out of his hands mid-sentence. Messages still covered the screen, names from his soccer group. Why is your chat full of kids who hate themselves? He reached for it and she lifted it above his head. Mom, stop, we are planning a tournament, give it back. I stood in the doorway with my work bag half unzipped. Her thumb moved fast, faster than his eyes could follow. One by one, his group threads vanished under her finger. He froze when she deleted the one with his best friend. I swear I heard something in him drop that he did not show. You do not need constant noise from low aspiring families. She locked the phone and slid it into her back pocket. That whole circle is obsessed with being victims, it leaks. He stared at her like she had spoken a different language. We talk about games and homework, what are you even saying? I stepped in then, which was late, but at least I moved. Give him his phone, you cannot just wipe his contacts. She turned toward me slowly, jaw set, breathing through her nose. You have no idea who those people really are inside. She tapped her temple like she could see into their skulls. These are kids from school, you have met their parents. I kept my tone level, I did not want him scared. She laughed once sharp, nothing like actual amusement. Meeting someone at pickup does not reveal their blood codes. Our son whispered that she was acting crazy, then bit his lip. She swung back to him like he had slapped her. Do not use that word with me, your mother is awake. Her neck flushed up to her ears while she stared him down. You think it is normal to be the only pure line there. He blinked hard and asked what pure even meant in our house. Instead of answering him, she pulled up an email on her screen. Come here, both of you, I want you to. See this. She expanded a message with a logo I had never seen. Family Ascension Circle has opened applications for in-person retreats out west. Her finger traced the sentence like it was some sacred contract. Only high-caliber homes are invited, there is screening. She scrolled down and pointed to a long paragraph about heritage checks. They do full background research, you cannot sneak in chaotic bloodlines. The way she said that last part made my spine feel brittle. Our son leaned in, then leaned back like the words had heat. He asked if his best friend could come if we went. She laughed longer this time, then stopped when nobody joined in. These events are not open playgrounds, they are for our kind. He frowned and asked who exactly counted as our kind. She tilted her head and told him he would understand when older. He looked at me because he wanted a clearer answer. I opened my mouth and nothing intelligent came out at first. Finally I said, your friends are fine, you are staying put. Her gaze shot to me like I had cursed in church. So you want him soaking in loser beliefs instead of rising. She grabbed a notebook from the counter and flipped to a list. Names and ages were written in groups with little symbols beside them. These are families on the wait list, real commitment, real discipline. She tapped a row where our last name already appeared. Under it she had written husband resistant, son undecided in neat letters. You already signed us up without asking anyone. I took the notebook out of her hand and read it again. She nodded like I had just praised her ambition. Someone has to lead, you two drag your feet on everything. Our kid shifted his weight and asked if he had a vote. No, not on this, adults steer bloodlines, not children. She grabbed the notebook back and hugged it to her chest. First retreat, then relocation to a safer neighborhood when we qualify. My head jerked up on that last word, which she noticed. You heard me, there are communities designed for families like us. She walked toward the dining table and opened another email. This one had photos of clean streets and tall fences. Zero crime for years, no randoms wandering around, everyone aligned. She zoomed in on a shot of kids on bikes. Look how healthy they look, they grow up actually proud of their roots. Our son asked if any of the kids there looked like his teammate. He named the one whose parents had left another country recently. She did not even check before answering, just shook her head. No, that place protects history, they do not blend anything there. He swallowed hard and asked if that meant his teammate was bad. That question hung in the air like a weight. I told him straight, no, he is not bad, he is your friend. Her eyes rolled so hard I thought she might strain something. You are confusing kindness with loyalty to your own people. She turned back to the screen and clicked the application form. Household ethnicity breakdown, see they care about statistics. She read the field names out loud with this hungry focus. They verify documents too, nobody can pretend to fit the criteria. My chest felt tight watching her enter our information without pausing. She hesitated at one question and then chose the strictest option. Our son's eyes started to shine in that way he hates. I am going to the park, he muttered, already moving toward the door. I tossed my keys from hand to hand and followed him. Behind us she called out, do not let strange kids near him. I did not answer her because anything I said then would ignite. In the car he stared out the window and chewed his thumbnail. We drove without music, which is rare for us, just quiet. Halfway to the park he finally spoke, voice rough. Does mom think Eli is dirty or something? That word punched me harder than any insult she had used. I told him she was confused and chasing weird ideas online. I said his friend was a good kid and none of this was on him. I insisted that grown-ups sometimes get hooked on nonsense and forget people. Even as I said it, I knew I was smoothing the edges. He watched my face instead of the road, checking if I believed myself. At the park he headed straight for the field with the goals. He kicked a stray ball so hard it bounced against the fence. I had games set up in that chat, now everything is gone. He lined up another kick, then stopped and turned to me. If we move to that place, do I lose everyone? I told him I was not moving anywhere without talking to him first. That part was true, even if the rest stayed muddy. He nodded once but did not look convinced at all. He asked if I would actually fight her if it came to that. I did not answer fast enough, and yeah, he noticed that too. We stayed there until the sky started to dim and the air cooled. He kept running drills alone like he was testing his own limits. I checked my phone and saw 3 missed calls from home. One text from her flashed on the screen, long and capitalized. You are poisoning him against his own family line. On the drive back, he shrank into his hoodie and stayed silent. My mind ran circles, planning arguments that never land right. About money, about custody, about what counts as danger in court. By the time we pulled into the driveway, my palms were damp. I almost turned around and left again, which tells you a lot. Inside, the house smelled like something scorched, not food. In the living room, she crouched over a metal bowl on the floor. Flames licked the edges of photographs, curling in the heat. On top, I recognized pictures from birthdays, vacations, school events. Whole seasons of our life shriveled while she chanted under her breath. "What are you doing? Have you lost it?" She looked up with wet eyes but no trace of sadness. "Relax, I am releasing attachments to people who weaken us." She jabbed at one half-burned snapshot with a long metal spoon. The faces belonged to friends she now labeled as harmful influences. Our son stepped back when he spotted himself in one of them. "You cannot burn that, that was my tournament, my team." She fished it out with the spoon and shook off ash. Then she tore around the edges until only his figure remained. "See, I am keeping the part that matters, the rest is clutter." He grabbed the saved piece from her hand and held it tight. His knuckles turned pale around the scrap, but he did not cry. "How many of my friends did you erase tonight?" She turned back to the bowl as if the question bored her. "Any who do not match the new standard, it is called protection." I unplugged the smoke detector because it kept shrieking above us. She watched me and smiled like I had finally joined the ritual. "This is what real fathers do, they cut out rot early." I told her a real parent does not call children rot for any reason. She frowned slightly, like the word children did not quite register. "Those are not just children, they are carriers of stories." She tossed another stack of prints into the fire with a quick flick. "Some stories heal, others infect, I am not risking his future." Our son asked if she saw him as a carrier too. She answered without hesitation, "You are an upgrade if you stay pure." That line made something cold settle in my gut. I told her she was talking like cult leaders I had studied in college. Her laugh was immediate and ugly like a bark. "People throw that word around when anyone sets high standards." She added, "The circle says we should expect resistance from sleepers closest to us." So there it was, an actual name for the group now. Not just my community or my people, but capitalized in her voice. She pulled up a chat app and showed me their family channel. Dozens of avatars, all with little sun emojis next to them. Messages flew about enclaves, homeschooling, curated neighborhoods, shared values. One post had a flyer for that gated development she mentioned earlier. Founders moved here after their town changed overnight, they escaped. Another message bragged about no foreign flags anywhere on the block. I looked at our son still clutching the photo scrap in his fist. He was reading over my shoulder and his face went very still. "We can be part of this if we move fast." She swiped to an audio clip and hit play on speaker. A woman's voice poured out, calm and confident, talking about purity. "Secure the next generation by choosing neighbors with your same lineage codes." My skin crawled hearing it broadcast in our living room. While that recording played, I went to the desk and opened the laptop. My hands trembled enough that I mistyped the password twice. In the search bar, I wrote "family attorney near me urgent." For once, I did not overthink the word urgent, I meant it. Behind me, the audio talked about keeping children away from mixed environments. Our son came to stand beside my chair without speaking. His shoulder pressed lightly against my arm, steady and warm. He watched the search results appear, eyes moving faster than mine. "You are really doing this," he whispered, not quite a question. I nodded once because anything else would have been another lie. In the other room, she laughed at something the group said on a call. The sound did not match any version of her I remembered. I bookmarked 3 law offices before closing the laptop halfway. The charger light blinked in the dark like a tiny warning signal. I knew then the next move would not just be a conversation. She caught the laptop screen before I could close the email. Her hand landed on the lid and pinned it to the table. The subject line still showed at the top for both of us. I watched her eyes land on my name and narrow hard. "You talked to a lawyer about me." Her voice came out low and flat, way worse than yelling. She lifted the laptop a little so she could read more. "Me? Custody consult, potential relocation risk, what exactly are you planning?" My mouth went dry so fast my tongue stuck. I pushed the chair back and stood so I could breathe. I am asking what my options are if this keeps escalating. The word if sounded weak even to me because we both knew. She laughed once sharp, then slammed the laptop shut. You are out of your mind if you think you win. She pointed toward the hallway where our son's room was. The circle will bury you if you drag our child into court. I told her the circle did not run our house or the law. She stepped closer until I could see every line around her eyes. You are turning on your own blood for strangers and mutts online. That last word hit so hard I actually flinched before answering. Say that again slowly while you point at his school photo. I grabbed the frame from the shelf and held it between us. Half the kids standing next to him fit what you just called mutts. She stared at the picture like I had smeared dirt across it. Our son is not like them, he carries higher inheritance. She touched the glass right over his face, almost gentle. You want to hand him over to mixed classrooms and tainted neighborhoods. Her thumb slid down the frame like she was wiping something off. I told her I wanted him around decent people who treat others right. I said I wanted therapy, real help, not another livestream rant. If you refuse that, I am filing and asking for primary custody. Her smile vanished so fast it felt like the lights dimmed. You think some judge will side with a coward over awakened lineage? She moved past me and yanked open the closet for a suitcase. You know what, let us test your devotion right now. She started throwing clothes in without looking at what they were. I will take him to the retreat, you stay with your guilt. The zipper screeched as she forced it around the swollen bag. My chest punched into panic in one hard beat then another. You are not taking him across state lines, not after everything. She dragged the suitcase toward the hall and raised her voice. Pack your things, we are leaving this low-energy prison. The bedroom door opened a crack and our son's head appeared. His eyes moved from the suitcase to my face without blinking. You are not going anywhere tonight, grab your backpack instead. I stepped between them and the front door before he could move. She yanked the handle and rattled it like I had locked her inside. If you block me, I will tell everyone you got violent. That phone is full of proof that I never laid a hand. I pointed at the tripod still set up from her last broadcast. If you want the police here, I will call them myself. Her fingers slipped off the knob when I reached for my pocket. You would drag uniformed thugs into this home over a disagreement. Her voice jumped an octave, almost theatrical, like she was rehearsing. The circle warned me partners might team up with the system. She backed away from the door but did not stop glaring. Our son stepped fully into the hall with his backpack half open. Are you getting divorced right now, or is this another experiment? His voice shook once, then leveled out in this weird groan tone. I told him we were going to a hotel to get space tonight. His shoulders dropped just a fraction when he heard the word we. He shoved a few clothes and his cleats into the bag quickly. From behind him, she shouted that he was choosing betrayal at 13. He zipped the bag anyway and walked toward me without pausing. Last chance, both of you, stay and fix this as a family. She stood in the living room with her arms stretched wide. If you walk out during a purification cycle, karma will snap back. I almost laughed at that, which probably saved me from crying. I told her we would talk again with a professional in the room. I repeated that phrase twice, mostly for my own spine. She advanced 3 steps and jabbed her finger into my chest. You will not like how professionals interpret your obsession with outsiders. I opened the door and felt our son move behind my arm. He did not look back at her, not even once. She shouted after us that the circle would fund her legal fight. The door clicked shut on her voice, but not on the threat. In the car, he stared straight ahead and clutched his backpack straps. Is she actually dangerous or just loud and kind of gone? I told him loud can be dangerous when it pulls other people in. He nodded slowly, like that answer hurt but made some sense. We checked into the first motel that had a vacancy sign. The clerk barely looked up, which honestly felt like a blessing. Our room door stuck before it opened, then gave with a jerk. Inside, my kid sat on the bed and kicked off his shoes. Are you scared? He asked, eyes on the boring ceiling. I said yes, because I was done lying to make things softer. Mostly I am scared of doing nothing and watching this keep growing. He rolled to his side and curled around his backpack like armor. My phone buzzed on the nightstand almost non-stop for 10 minutes. First came texts from her, blocks of accusations and flipped memories. Then screenshots from a neighbor, then from my brother back home. Dude, she is live right now dragging your name through mud. I opened the app and her face filled the screen in tears. Red eyes, messy hair, blanket around her shoulders like a wounded soldier. I need support, my husband just kidnapped our child to appease outsiders. The comments exploded under the video before she finished that sentence. People spammed broken heart emojis and vowed to protect pure children. Others wrote that they knew men like me who worship strangers. One comment said fathers like me should lose rights immediately. I watched my own driveway appear on screen in an earlier clip. In that one, she filmed her suitcase and the closed bedroom door. Voice shaky, she explained that I threatened her if she left the house. She replayed the scene where I reached for my phone, cut just so. To her followers, it looked like I was reaching to grab her. My stomach flipped because I knew how convincing that angle looked. Our son leaned over my shoulder and watched in tight-jawed silence. That never happened like that, he muttered, fists balled at his sides. I hit record on my own phone and captured her video as evidence. Not gonna lie, part of me wanted to jump in her chat. Type a wall of truth in all caps and expose every lie. Instead, I forwarded the clip to the attorney who answered quickest earlier. I added one line underneath, "This is what we are dealing with tonight." Within a few minutes, the lawyer replied with a short message. "Do not engage online, keep screenshots, we will talk tomorrow morning." I read it twice out loud so my kid could hear it. He nodded and lay back down, still fully dressed, shoes on. The motel room felt too small and too quiet for sleep. Cars hissed past outside, every engine sounding more important than ours. I scrolled back through her page, back before crystals and codes. Old clips of birthday cakes and dance challenges with our son. Watching those older videos hit me harder than the new hateful ones. She looked goofy and normal, trying to keep up with teen moves. No talk about bloodlines, just bad jokes and loud music. I kept thinking, if I posted this story online, would anyone believe the switch? Morning came as a gray smear more than a clear start. We grabbed cheap coffee from the lobby and drove to the appointment. My kid waited in the lobby with headphones while I went back. The attorney had already pulled some of her public content. He clicked through clips of her talking about impure lines ruining communities. Another where she mentioned keeping our child from mixed-influence classrooms. You realize this helps your case more than anything you could say. His tone was calm, but his eyebrows were up the entire time. I admitted I felt sick using her worst rants as ammunition. He folded his hands and looked straight at me for a moment. You are not punishing her beliefs, you are protecting your kid from harm. He slid a stack of forms across the desk and handed me a pen. Signing those pages felt like punching through wet cement, slow and heavy. Each signature tied me to a version of myself I still barely recognized. The guy who hires lawyers, who sleeps in motels, who gathers evidence. The guy who knows this will get uglier before it gets calmer. Back at my brother's place that night, the couch became my corner. My son played a game in the other room with his cousins. Their laughter sounded almost normal, which made everything else feel stranger. I opened my phone again and saw another fresh clip from her. In this one, she stood in our bedroom holding our old wedding photo. My husband forgot who we are, but I will remember for both. She kissed the glass over my face and promised to reclaim our boy. The comments chanted things like "bring him home" and "blood over court." I saved that video too and then finally shut the app. The photo in her hand stayed stuck in my mind long after. The original frame now sat wrapped in a towel in my trunk. I keep telling myself I will unpack it when this war ends.